The band is back together.
Doo, doo.
Welcome back to High Heels Happy Hour. And we're saying that because I have been gone on vacation for a long time. So we haven't been in the same room
or state
or country or continent for a while.
Yes.
Yeah. So
welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to be back. It's been fun. It's been a little bit of everything. I have my mom going through health problems, but we had a great time, and it's always fun to see friends and family, which is what we're going to talk about today for friendship. So a little bit of a reset series we've done for the last couple of weeks, and then traveling like I've done and meeting friends and family really got me thinking about friendships, the importance thereof, and sometimes
lack of.
Yes, lack of. So before we dive in, how are you doing?
Great. So you've been away quite a bit.
Ooh, by the way, I love your earrings. If you're watching on YouTube, aren't those pretty earrings? Where did you get
strong and brave? You gave them to me
because I am such a good friend.
Yes, I think that this was.
I planned it so well.
She planned it pretty awesome. So I am well. Been really crazy summer.
Yeah,
with tryouts, volleyball, traveling. We did do our family vacation.
Yay!
So a lot of stuff, and then Victor's been traveling a lot for work, which they told him he wasn't.
Your husband, Victor. Not everyone might know who Victor is.
My husband, Victor. Yes, that's my husband. he had gone to Brazil, Guatemala, Panama.
Oh wow!
And he's not even there enough to enjoy it. It's like one day, then go the next day. So it's like
that sucks.
Why not? So it's been really busy. But other than that, great. Work is great. Just busy. I was not.
You say that a lot.
Yeah. No, it just flew by. I mean, even you being gone, I would check on you, and if I didn't hear from you, I'm like, did I message her? And I would check on that again. I'm like, no, I did message her. But sometimes I even message you a couple of times. Like, you okay? I haven't heard from you.
Because time difference is a little hard sometimes.
I forget time difference. But other than that, that's it.
What's your hack?
So my hack is actually a food for thought that I thought would be great for today.
Okay.
And I heard it on Facebook, and you haven't heard it yet. And there's this young lady asking this gentleman, and she asked, well, how long or how much do you take from a toxic person? Like, how much toxicity can you take from a family member or a friend? And so you say, it's enough. And he said, well, how much poison do you drink before it kills you? And she said, and I heard that. I was like, oh, that's awesome. So, which happened to be, I think, perfect for today's episode.
That is correct.
So how about you?
My hack. Okay, so traveling back from Sweden, of course, I have to have some food tracks, but this is something you can find in 99% of American grocery stores. This is so Swedish, and in Sweden we have a whole aisle full of different versions of this. It's called crisp bread. It is also called knuckleboard. And it is a very kind of like a hard cracker type. And then you put, and if you're not on YouTube, sorry, FaceTime, YouTube, you won't see it, but it's the Vasa, W-A-S-A brand. It's called Vasa. It's spelled with a W, but it's pronounced Vasa.
Okay.
It's one of our old kings. And it is, it's definitely carbohydrate, but it's a super healthy, lots of fiber. And us Swedes love to munch on this. It's not neat. I've done the mistake of bringing in the car. No,
Mm,
it's not
all
something
over
you
the
eat on the
place.
go because it crumbles everywhere. But it really is such a Swedish thing, and we love it. So crisp bread from Vasa, and you will find it in the bread aisle. They're like little on YouTube. You'll see it, but they're little like rectangular packages. In Sweden, we do them as you've seen. We do them like round, big cakes that
Mm.
you break, but these are good little portion
I'm not
sizes.
Swedish, and I love
Yes, a lot of
those.
people that I have introduced them to love it.
Hmm.
And in Sweden, of course, there's different flavors and different herbs and
Toppings.
spices. But I like it with just a little butter and cucumber or egg, hard boiled egg, super good on top, or
Oh,
avocado or cheese.
I do
Yeah.
it with spreadable cheese and
Yeah. Oh,
lingon.
you do with lingonberry? That no
Yes.
Swede do that. Lingonberry is also very Swedish, but no one ever puts it on knuckleboard or crisp bread. No, that's your own invention. But I like that you two taken two Swedish things that don't really go together, and
And
you
made it Puerto
made it
Rican.
work. And she made a Puerto Rican crisp bread.
You have to try it.
Okay,
It's like
all
sweet
right.
and salty and
Oh
crunchy.
yeah,
It's
yeah. No, I mean you could do like marmalade, I guess, but yeah. All right, I'm gonna give it a try.
we got a triple hack.
Triple hack.
All right,
All right.
let's dig in.
So friendship reset today. Well, the episode is called Are You Being a Good Friend? But I think before we start looking at ourselves, like are we, or dissecting how good of a friend we are, we really need to look at all our friendships and see, because sometimes you need to break up with your friends or so-called friends, air quotes, because there are a lot of not just toxic um, romantic relationships, there are a lot of toxic friend relationships, and not to mention toxic family relationships. But those are sometimes harder to break up with, but at least you can just maybe not engage as much because you can't
Mhm.
choose your family. They kind of, well, you did break up with some of your family members, right?
Yes.
Well, rightfully so. But friendships, we do have the chance of just walking away from
Mhm.
if we need to.
Well, they say you can't choose your family; you can choose your friends,
Exactly. That's where
which
you
is
have
where
the
if
luxury.
you choose your friends, you might as well choose wisely.
Exactly. And sometimes, when we've known people for a long time, it's hard. It just kind of, it's like a bad marriage. It just kind of goes on and on. But I think it's important, especially as we age, I think get wiser,
Mhm.
not to put up with things that pull us down.
You don't need to.
Don't need to. Life's too short, which I've been reminded a lot lately.
Yeah.
So let's just look at what are the signs of a toxic friendship. And of course, there are many, but here are some of the kind of top signs. And I think this is by far the most telling. It's when there's constant negative energy, when you just feel drained after being with someone. It's like all the air is sucked out of the room after,
Like you're
and you
tired
need,
after.
yeah, you need a nap, you need alone time. And sometimes some people in your life are very negative. Some people, there's always, oh, this and that. There's always a complaint. There's always, could always be better. There's always, instead of saying there's always a silver lining, there's always a dark lining,
like
black
empty.
lining somewhere. Yeah. And that's can really be emotionally exhausting. And that pessimism can really, it kind of rubs off too. I know that there's been some people in my past that have been very negative, and I just feel like I become, and because misery one's company, and I
Mhm.
just kind of, sometimes you just feel more negative after being with that person, and then you have people in your life where you just feel uplifted and energized after being with them. So Yeah, definitely. If there's always negativity,
Or
you
if
don't
somebody
need that.
says something, like whenever I spoke to a few people in my life, when I would get home, Victor, my husband, would
Hmm.
be like, "Were you talking to this person today?"
Oh yeah,
I'm like, "Yeah,
yeah,
why?" "Oh, 'cause you can tell." And I'm
yeah,
like, "Oh,
yeah. It rubs. Just like when I go back to Sweden and speak only Swedish, dialects rub off. Or if you've lived somewhere, like if you go to Boston, you come back and
yeah."
you speak more with a Boston accent. It's the same thing. So yes, is there
Mhm.
someone in your life that's friend that's dragging you down and there's constant negative, you need to cut the ties.
Just
Number,
like that.
yeah, well, sometimes, I mean, this is all more easily said than done, but definitely something to,
Be
or I
aware
mean,
of.
tell people like, I can't hang out with you because you're always complaining, and that you can say that. That's
Mhm.
fine. Number two, does she have your back? And since we have a mostly female audience, I'm saying she. Could be he as well,
Mhm.
it's a male friend. But the lack of support. Like, is this someone is it your ride or die? Is it someone you can trust if shit hits the fan? Sorry for the language, but this person will back you up. And I know that I have X amount of people in my life. They don't have to be many, but I have um, 4 or 5 that I know, regardless of where I am in the world, regardless of what's happening, they would drop everything they have, or, 99% of the time, they would drop what they were doing and they would come to help me. And if you have one person like that, it's great.
Mhm.
But I think I have, yeah, four at least that I know for sure. And I notice that, and you notice that when things go bad, that's when you know
Mhm.
who's gonna. So is it someone that say they love you and they say I would do anything for you, but anytime you ask for something or when it really gets hard, there is always an excuse. Oh, I
Mhm.
can't do that. Um, yeah. So is this a person? If you got arrested and you needed to be bailed out of jail, is this the person that would be there bailing you out, or is that the person
Well,
you would call?
it depends on why you're in jail. But
Yes, but
but
if you didn't murder or do anything too
yeah,
bad,
no, but I think it just goes back to just we all have our lives.
yeah,
We all have things that we need to do. But there is something to be said to genuinely be there for someone.
yes,
It doesn't have to
yes,
be, you don't have to have all the money in the world. You don't have to have anything physically tangible,
yep,
but there is something to be a woman of your word
yep,
and a man of your
yeah.
word.
We're gonna go more into that a little later. But yes, absolutely. But someone that will take care of your kids if something happens. They will go get your kids. They will go get your dog. They will
Yeah,
do whatever. Yeah.
like special
So if you don't
blueberries.
have that, if they're not having your back, they could be um, acquaintances,
Mhm.
but they're not your true close friends. And number three of
Ooh,
toxic manipulation. I can't speak. See, I've
money.
been out of the country for too long. And control. So, yes, do you have friends that always try to control what you're doing or control what you mutually are doing? Say, oh, what do you want to do? Or we could do this. That always tries to get it to what they want to do. Always try to move you into their own
That
agenda, so
drives
to speak.
me crazy.
And don't you love this one?
Mm.
I have family members guilty of this one. Guilt tripping. So you want to do that? Oh, well, this and that, and now I have to do this, and always, um, yeah,
And it kind of almost works, which is
yeah.
almost
If you're an
frustrating.
emotion, if you are, well, I will say, as as I've gotten older, guilt tripping worked less and less for
Mm.
me. But of course, when we're younger and we want to please everyone, and especially, I mean, you're a recovering people pleaser. Yes, guilt tripping definitely works because that's the best weapon towards
Mhm.
a people pleaser. Like, oh gosh, no, you don't want anyone to feel bad and feel bad about you. So putting on the guilt trips,
I've done things where
yes.
they guilt trip me enough that I'm like, okay, let's do this. And then we get there, and then they say, oh, we changed our mind. I'm like, you
Yeah,
got to
yeah,
be.
yeah.
And then it becomes, I'm the monster. I'm like,
Yes.
you
And no,
just,
it's always you're the
mm,
monster. Always, yes.
mm.
And this one,
Oh,
very common. Number 4, one-sided effort. Is it always you that are initiating contact,
mm,
always you that are checking in, making plans? And if you feel like if it wasn't for me, we would never talk, or if it wasn't for me, we would never get together. That is a very one sided effort. So you really need to make sure it's giving and taking. But if the one person always taking, never giving, then that gets old real
it's draining.
fast. Yep. Lack of respect kind of sounds obvious, but sometimes we don't see it when it's our friends. We can see it
Mm.
sometimes with our um, partners, romantic partners, but sometimes we are a little blinded when it comes to friends. When it comes to are they are they respecting your boundaries? Are they
Mm.
respecting feelings? Sometimes they know so much about you and use that to their advantage.
That's that's bad.
Yeah, yeah.
When that happens, that's just
Or the fact that sometimes it could be a dismissiveness that you explaining something how
mm,
you're feeling and it's like, oh, well, you're so extra.
yeah,
Or well, that's so you. Like it's a bad thing.
yeah.
So yeah, lack of respect. Number, and we have seen this in when we
Mm.
deal with a lot of women. Number 6, envy and competition. Us women are a little notorious for that.
And competition, I think it can be a good thing, that like friendly.
Friendly competition can be challenging and exciting,
Mhm.
but it's that always trying to outdo the other person, or it's not always something that we do. Can be in our kids. Sometimes the one person always try to
Like one
outdo
up,
the other
yeah.
one. Oh well, my kid did this, and if you say, oh, my son or daughter did this, well, my kids did. I think
Um,
as mothers, that's something definitely. But a good friend would never do that, or a true friend, I should say, would never do that. Or the same way, undermining somehow, like, well, that's all cute, but it's not really the way it should be done.
I
Yeah.
will tell you, since I've gotten older, I
Hmm.
already have. I got in a lot of trouble when I was in boot camp because of my facial expressions.
Oh yeah,
I
you got a
think,
resting bitch face. I
oh,
do.
no, no, you have a resting bitch face.
Oh,
I have a movement. So you talking, and if it's something that I don't agree with, or I
yeah.
think you're full of like just
Uh huh.
crap, you know exactly what I'm saying without
Oh,
me saying anything.
okay.
So now, especially dealing with a lot of moms, they'll
Hmm.
say stuff, and I'm like, hmm. They're like, "Are
Hmm.
you okay?" I'm like, "Probably not if you're asking me if I'm okay."
Yeah.
But oh my goodness. Sometimes
Hmm.
I just have to say, you know what? I'm really not gonna even answer your question
Yeah.
or consider it because I can't right now.
Yeah. Sometimes it's harder to do that with people though, if you're close. Sometimes easier to,
Even with the people that I've known recently, I'm like, I'm just
yeah. And
not
that's
gonna do
one
it.
of the good parts of getting older. You don't take as much crap.
It's the only thing I like about getting older right now.
No, it's all good. It's all good. All
All
right.
right.
Now this one, number 7, is something we see a lot in
Mm,
romantic relationships, but we're not as sometimes as open. We don't. Our eyes are not always as open when it comes to friendships, and it's isolation.
Mm.
Um, there could be isolating behavior. When sometimes when you see a friend has a partner, and that partner always wants to, it kind of takes them away from their friends. Well, there are friends that take you away from other friends.
Mm-hmm.
They want kind of you all to themselves, or they want you to be in their group. And kind of when you're noticing that you're hanging out less and less and less with other friend groups that you might love, um, you might want to
I
get a
see that a
little.
lot in the school. Like
Yeah.
it
And it's
starts.
something we do as kids a
Mm-hmm.
lot. Like, oh no, you can't be with that friend. You should be with me. And our little kids do that all the time. And I remember it's not always easy to have a group of three playing when you have little kids, because there's usually two people fighting about the attention of the
Yeah,
third. But this is also common for
adults.
adults. Yeah. Like, oh, should you really? And the back talking of the other friend. Like,
Mm.
oh, I can't believe you're hanging out with her because blah, 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 blah,
Like,
blah.
I can't believe you even asking me or telling me anything.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
quiet.
And then the all time grand finale,
Dun, dun,
frequent
dun.
drama and conflict. Same thing with negativity. There are some people in your life that's always, always drama. And some people do thrive of drama. I think it's if you always had drama in your life, it's the only way you know how to act. So when things are
Mm.
not chaotic,
You find something.
yes, because you don't know how to exist within um, a place that's not traumatic or chaotic. So, but that can be draining, if anything. And it might not just be you might not even be involved in the drama, but you get sucked in
Yeah.
because of everything that goes on. So if there's always drama, conflicts, either you're a part of or you hear all about it, you might want to take a step back,
Mm-hmm.
because again, it will affect you and you will get sucked in as well.
You'll either be the individual that, oh, she always gets involved, or she never gets involved.
Yeah.
So you can pick which one you want.
Yeah. Yep.
So
So those were the top. If you're noticing any of those, maybe you need to take back. Either have a firm discussion with your friend, or maybe just take a step back and remove yourself from the situation. All right, but how do we now become better friends? I do think as we evolve as people, as we um, get wiser, more years around the sun, um, but really it's something we should think about. I'm trying to instill this in my daughter. It's a skill to be a really good friend. And sometimes we just kind of go on with our lives as we've always done, and we don't stop and think. We think, well, that's going to happen naturally. Sometimes we need to work on it, just like we need to improve in other areas of our life. We need to work on becoming really good friends. How can I be the best friend possible? So here are some tips. Are you ready?
yes, I'm taking notes.
Okay. Number one, be a good listener. As some wise person always said, we have one mouth and two ears for a reason. We should talk less, listen more. I actually told my daughter this quote the other day, because we were talking about something and someone had commented on that she interrupted. And I said, you know what? That's really something to work. She's like, I'm working on that. I said, good, because that is not a good trait. You should listen more, talk less, but be a good listener is one of the best personality traits, and definitely best friendship traits you can have. So, and it's active listening. It's not just but it really is paying attention to what the person is saying. And it's not always. Some people want to solve problems. You want to be the problem solver. So when your friend says, "Oh, I'm going through this," and you want to constantly solve it, I know I've been more of that in the past. I always try to find solutions because that's how I felt like I was useful. I was a
Mm,
doer. So I want to come up with a solution. But I've learned, and I know my mom, she's someone, it depends on the love language. She wants people to listen. And sometimes I just need to not come up with a solution. I just need to listen and acknowledge, be an
mm,
active listener. So, and the best thing to do that is, of course, to avoid interruption, not always go. And you notice if someone is not a good active listener or a good listener is if you start, well, I went through this, and then the person goes, I did the exact same thing, or yeah, that happened to me too, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I never got into a story.
one thing I will say that I have learned to do is when you talk to someone and you want to make sure that they know you're listening.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes because you are a problem solver, this might help, is you can reiterate or re-say what they just said,
Mm-hmm.
and it almost allows them to think of what they just said.
Hmm.
Because when you're really stressed out, when you
Mm-hmm.
have a problem, you say, oh, you know what? My kids are doing this and this and this and that, and I feel like this. And then you say, oh, so what you're saying is that because your daughter is doing this
Mm-hmm.
is how you feel. And it actually allows the person that just told you
Yeah.
to think of what they just said. And they're like, oh, wait,
Mm-hmm.
this is okay.
Sounds like something a therapist would do,
Well,
right?
so
Yeah, and they're
since,
good listeners.
since I been working with a group,
Uh huh.
it's been 6 years.
Yeah.
I've learned so much
Mm.
about listening and also listening and not digesting.
Uh huh.
Because there's one thing of you being a problem solver. I'm a people pleaser. I
Mm-hmm.
always wanted to fix
Mm-hmm.
and say, oh, you should do this, you should do that. Now I just listen,
Mm-hmm.
figure out to decipher how they feel, and then I have to release it a little bit so I don't carry it. So
Yeah.
being a good listener, being a listener, not digesting,
Or absorbing.
absorbing.
Yeah.
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 But that always helps
That's
too.
yeah.
Maybe that's all the years of therapy I've had. It's finally working.
But I will give you a good suggestion for how to do this to really make sure something we've been doing with my friend group in Sweden. So every time I go back to Sweden, especially in the summer, I get together with, and you know this, but I get together with a group of friends.
I'm okay with it.
You don't want to try to isolate me from this group. Um, and these are girls that I've known, some of them from second grade, third grade, some of them I worked with. It's all different kind of walks of life. And most of them, not all, but most of them know each other through me.
Mm.
So they might not, I mean, two and two here and there, if we've known each other from the same area, they hang out the rest of the year, but a lot of them only see each other when we get together
Mm.
as a group. And Israel, we call it the girls get together, and it's awesome. It's so wonderful, and we've done it for 24 years.
That's awesome.
Uh, but one thing we started doing, and we do it every time, and this is something I tried this with other groups, but it didn't work because of the above mentioned issues. What we do is we go around the table and we let one person speak at a time. So we call it the recap.
Oh.
So, because we haven't seen each other in a while, most of the time it's been a year, sometimes it's 6 months, we go and we say, what's new with you? And that person get to talk uninterrupted about what's going on in their lives, what's happening, good, bad, and ugly. We've gone through divorces, we've gone through job changes, kids, everything. Um, and the others can ask questions, but it is you let one person speak at a time.
Mm.
So that person really feels heard. And also, the rest of us we know exactly what's happening in that person's lives. Because how many times have you been at a dinner table and everyone talks over each other's head, and you feel like the person that was sitting the furthest away, I never get to talk with her. I have no idea what's happening in her life.
Mm.
So I've tried this actually with my book club. I try to do it, and it did not work. They did not understand that concept because I feel like I meet my book club way more often, but very often I never get to speak to. Shout out to book club if you're listening, but I sometimes you never get to speak to a certain person because that might not be the loudest person in the group. Some people are the more loud and the more verbal people. You always know what's happening in their lives,
Yeah.
but you might not know what's happening in the ones that are more a little more timid, or actually the people that are better listeners. You don't know exactly what's happening in their lives because they're not
Talking.
just diarrhea of the mouth.
Mm.
So I love this concept that we sit down and we have fun, and then we go, okay, recap. One person starts, we go around the table, everyone gets to speak, and everyone knows what's going on with the other people.
That's cool. I
Yeah,
like that.
I love that. I think it's and everyone, all of us say they have tried it in other groups and it doesn't always work. But it's something to think about.
Huh, I like that.
All right. Second chance, second way to become a really good friend, show empathy and understanding. Yes, so really try to put yourself in the other person's shoe because we're very different. And sometimes there can be situations in your life where I can go like, "Whoa, that could never happen
Mm.
in my life." Well, you know what? Because I'm not living your life. I don't have your background. I don't have your family relationships. So it's so important to really try to see it from the other, from your friend's point of view, and put yourself in that situation.
Yeah. And even if you know you can't relate to
Yeah.
some, that's kind of what you were just
Mhm.
saying. Just say, you know what, I wouldn't know what to do in that situation.
Yeah.
But I hear you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is like almost a weight lifted off somebody's shoulder. Okay, she can't relate, but she
No, again, you don't
does
have to fix the problem.
No, but
You just
just
have to listen.
listen. But
And be there.
again, this is why listening is really important.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And sometimes just acknowledging how you're feeling about it, because we can be fast to say, "Oh my God, you just have to get over that," or "You just have to stop feeling so sorry for that person," or "Stop feeling so sorry for yourself," or whatever it is, sad, or "You just got to get over your grief." Well, no, you just need to acknowledge the fact that this is how your friend is feeling. You say, I understand.
and
I might not understand, but I acknowledge that that's how
yes.
you're feeling.
And if you have ever said what Christina just said, and you haven't heard from your friend in a while, that's why.
I said so many things.
That
What did I
what you
just
just
say?
said about being dismissive and like, oh, just get over it.
Oh yeah.
So if they're listening to this and they're
Mhm.
like, they're thinking, wait, I haven't heard from so and so.
Yeah.
That's probably why. Because
Mhm.
I've shared something with somebody, and that's exactly what she answered. Until this day, I have yet we conversate, but I have yet to ever say anything
Okay.
because I was totally like
You were dismissed.
totally dismissed, and I thought
belittled. Yeah.
I was like,
like your feelings didn't matter.
like I was like, oh my gosh, I could never say anything because I shouldn't. Like,
Yeah.
I should just fix it, or I should
Yeah.
just do something else. So that became something that whenever I hear that, I'm like, oh, they're never going to talk to you again.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to, because it's really difficult to find someone to talk to when it comes to certain topics. So having that, you usually have a couple friends that you can talk to, and then some you can say, hey, let's have coffee, and we just exchange conversations.
Yeah.
But very few people you can actually
dig deep.
Yeah.
So this leads us into the next.
I'm so good.
The next great way to become a better friend. It's to be open and honest. communicate openly and honestly, not just say what you think the friend wants to hear,
Hmm.
but to be open with your own. We have some people we know that only share the good parts and never the, I mean, some
The
people
bad and
only share
ugly.
the negative things,
Yeah.
but some people will only share the good things. And then after a while, you all of a sudden find out they're getting a divorce. And you're like, what? I never understood you had an issue in your marriage.
Mm.
And of course, you don't want to blabber it out to anyone, but if it's a close friend, that can really hit you by surprise. Like, I didn't know you were going through this. Why didn't you let me know? So I think it is, if you feel the trust, of course, because friendship is
Hmm.
about trust. You got to be transparent and open with the person, because otherwise you can't expect that back.
Yeah.
So it is, yeah, sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly, and not just not just the shiny exterior that you, because that you can see through that pretty fast, and it will also lead to animosity when the real truth comes
Hmm.
out.
And you could always ask too. I think too, that's kind of what we're going into in just a few.
Hmm.
But to reiterate on the trustworthy is just check where you are as a friend. You
Yeah,
know, am I someone you can trust?
yeah.
Like, do you consider me a friend, or how can I be? Or you can just ask, how can I be a better friend? Because I
That's a
really
great question
like
to
how I adore you, and I
uh-huh.
love to be your friend.
Mhm.
However, is that something you
Oh, I thought
consider
you were
me?
telling me right now. Oh, okay. All
You know, I adore you.
right.
But even with us, we've had
Yeah,
difficult conversations
yeah,
on our friendship,
yeah,
on how we felt about things, and that is really important to have
yeah.
because
Like things,
and
what
listen.
drives
You have to
yeah,
listen.
because sometimes you need to, yeah.
You guys saw it on YouTube.
uh, oh, now I lost my train of
See, that's
thought.
what happens when you don't listen.
Oh well.
But we've had tough conversations,
Yes.
and we both come from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And I've had to understand where you come from, and you
Hmm.
have had to understand where I come from.
Yeah.
And we still have our differences, but we
Hmm.
do tend to meet in the middle and have that sort of seesaw and
Yeah.
understanding that it is what it is.
And asking the question, how can I be, how can I help you? How can I
Mm-hmm.
make your life easier? How can I be a better friend to you right now when you
Yeah.
know that your friend is going through
Mm-hmm.
something? I think that's a great question to ask, because a lot of people will throw out there, oh, just let me know if I can do anything. I mean, that's almost like a hi, how are you? That's just
Yeah.
something we say. Um, I think instead it's better to either ask, like, specifically, what can I do
Mm-hmm.
to make it easier? Like, if, or if the person can't come up with anything because they're in the middle of it and they just can't think straight, then just do something.
Mm-hmm. What would help you if you were in a similar
Yeah,
situation and do
yeah,
that?
and just do it. So
Yeah.
if it's uh, some people, I know that when you've had family members pass away, a lot of people go, "Oh, do you want me to make you dinner?" Some people would enjoy that, others wouldn't. If you think that that person is someone who would enjoy it, don't ask, just drop it off.
Mm-hmm.
Or, take them out for coffee, or just stop by with a coffee and say, I don't know if you have time, but here's a coffee. I was thinking about you. Yeah. So just kind of do it. And
Yeah.
because that whole, yeah, just let me know. Then you're putting it back in the other person's corner. Let
And
me know if I
they
can do
can't even
something.
think of that. They're not even thinking of
Yeah. It's just something for themselves to feel better that now I've offered my help.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And I think, too, one thing that we've done a lot, since we're on the topic, really being open and honest and saying if it's something the other person does that rubs you the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've had those discussions. I can tell you, well, when you do that, that drives me nuts.
And I'm like, what did this?
Yes. So, and those are important things. And when you've come to that place in a friendship, then you come really far.
Mhm. And sometimes I honestly don't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
However, because it bothers her,
Yeah.
I really try not to do
But
it.
that's the whole respect thing.
No,
You
no,
gotta, yeah,
I know, but
yeah,
it's not something that
yep.
if I didn't really respect you or care,
Hmm.
I'm like, I don't really give a shit if you don't like it. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
do it anyways.
yeah. And when you live with someone in a relationship,
Mhm.
you kind of have to. Otherwise, you'll be living by yourself.
Yeah,
But it's the same thing in friendships.
yeah.
All right, this one: reliability and trustworthiness. Be reliable. You shouldn't have to point that out, but how many people do we know that never keep, that are not women of their word? This is what we touched on in the beginning. How many times has certain people in your lives rescheduled and not shown up? Something came up the last minute. Oh, I can't do it. This happened. And
Mm.
some people just do it notoriously. So, and that's something I try to pride myself of never rescheduling unless it's something going on that just can't be helped.
Mhm.
But really show up when you say you're going to show up, keep your promise, and no matter what. So
I
important.
concur.
And
Mm.
and then, well, we kind of already talked about that one. Show appreciation and gratitude. And it's also something that we sometimes take for granted with people
Mhm.
close in our lives. That if you do something for me, I'll be like, yeah, thanks. Uh, because it is something you usually do, or and family members, especially our kids, can sometimes forget. But it's so important with friendships that we really express gratitude and appreciation. And you're really good at writing little notes, like
Mm.
handwritten notes, which is a great way of showing appreciation. But sometimes we just kind of, yeah, thanks, because we're used to it or we expect it. But
Or
it's
we're just in a
important.
rush. I don't
Yeah.
think we take a lot of things for
Yeah.
granted. But you said it earlier, life's so short. And I've been trying to get better at
Hmm.
that because I feel like sometimes I'm like, you know what, I got to call. So I'll usually text someone like, hey, I'm thinking of you.
Hmm.
And it's totally random, but if I don't do it then,
Yeah.
the whole day goes by.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just really important just to
Yeah. Little
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 gestures.
things, little gestures
Huh.
go a long way. Supporting their interests and goals. So going back to the way where we try to the toxic relationships of trying to manipulate and control.
Or lack of support.
Yeah, here we go into, we not might not always agree with choices our friends do, or goals they
Mhm.
might have, but you know what, they're not your goals, so just be supportive. You might not agree or support the relationship or the man she has met, but she happens to love him, so get over it and just
Yeah.
be supportive. And um and and, and two, with interest, if your friend is really into something and you couldn't care less about it, but maybe you should just, you know,
Just try it.
learn a little bit about it and show a little bit of interest.
Mhm.
Because it's important to her, then you should show that you at least are open or interested in it because it is important to her.
Yeah. It doesn't cost anything to either do research on what they're
Hmm.
doing or say, I found this or I saw this and it made me think of what you're doing.
And just like we talked about the Misery One's Company,
Yeah.
sometimes if your friend is going for a goal that you might be a little jealous of,
Mm.
or say that your friend is trying to, say, for instance, lose weight or really want to work out, And you're like, well, I don't want to work out, so I'm just going to hope that she doesn't want to do it because then that's going to make me feel worse about myself. And you're not, so you're saying, oh, you shouldn't have to do that. That's not good for you. You shouldn't do that. It's too much working out or it's too much dieting, whatever. Yeah, maybe that person is not your friend. Maybe you need to step back. If you are the unsupportive one, you need to step back and say, you know what? It's her thing. She wants to do it. It's not about me. It's about her.
Love it.
And be present. Again, the active listening and the little checking in here and there. So important to, we all get wrapped up and we have super busy lives and like, oh, I was so busy, I didn't have time. Just taking a step back and just being present. And it doesn't have to be physical presence, like you have to see each other right there, but like what you said you checked in on me. Just like, how you doing?
Where are you?
How are things? I think that's a form of being present. That's really important. And then, of course, when you are spending time together, not be distracted by other things. Just like we talked about with our kids, that we got to be present and not work at the same time as we're trying to.
That was a bit difficult before.
Yeah.
When we realized what we needed to do, we're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And it's just so much easier now.
Yeah.
It's like a muscle.
Yeah. I skipped one here. Be forgiving and understanding. Kind of goes hand in hand with what we're talking about, what we talked about before. Accepting imperfections, like we're not carbon copies just because we're friends, and your friend is going to be in a certain way, and some things might drive you nuts, but
nuts, it's okay. Toxic, not.
Yes.
There's a difference between if you're always forgiving someone for being a jerk.
Yeah,
dishonest,
that's so true. Good
and
point.
always just being an ass.
Yeah.
You can forgive them, but also forget them. At the same, you don't have to.
Yes.
So that there is a fine line.
This is more kind of a personality traits too. So I have to forgive and understand that Ingrid is not a great planner, that she might not, that's not her forte, right? And you have to be forgiving that I am so much of a planner that I sometimes have a hard time improvising. So, yeah, but those are more personality traits that you have to accept.
So now I plan to have a plan for her to improvise. When she's like, wait, what? And I'm like, nope, I got it already. I already planned it out. Since I am not a good planner, I planned for that.
Oh, yeah. No, but I think you got to be forgiving when it comes to things that are in your nature.
Yeah.
The way you are, but not in the way of acting. Like if you're acting like a jerk, there's no excuse. And then the last one, be yourself. Because you're really bad at being someone else. But I think authenticity, and again, might sound, sound like, well, what do you say? Goes without saying, but sometimes we want to show the shiny version of ourselves, and that's not always. That gets transparent pretty fast when you get into deep relationships. So make sure that you show up as the one you are, true, authentic version of yourself.
And again, this goes with friendships, because I think when we're out working, we're out doing our things, we show up how we need to show up.
Yeah.
This is strictly pertaining to your friendships. Like
absolutely.
how, you don't show up in a costume.
Yeah.
Like those friends are there for you. You just have to just be bare naked and be like, okay, this is what's going on. And it sometimes sucks because sometimes the conversations are really difficult, but you'll find out pretty easy.
Yeah.
Who are those friends? Because those difficult conversations come with like, oh crap, I just told her this. and you have to be okay with that. And that's what
Yeah.
you want to find. You want to
Yeah.
find people that you're going to be okay when it's really great news, really sad news, and really bad news.
Yeah.
So they're out there.
Yeah. And I was saying our girls get together in Sweden this time. The discussions were, well, as always, honest and open, but it was a lot about who is on hormone therapy, who does not sleep, who feels like crap, who is, yeah, it's a lot. So, we were very open. We're always very
That's so fun.
open.
That is, yeah, that's
Yes.
fun.
So my friend that I bought friend mugs.
Yay.
Yes.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Cheers.
I'm so glad you're my friend.
Same.
Cheers.
There you
Bye
go.
bye.